Hello, my name is Amy Tumlin. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the abolishment of capital punishments. Would you stand in witness of a murder or participate in such an act yourself? Likely your response was an instant no for many reasons, but the most adherent reason would be that murder is morally irreprehensible. We know from the sixth commandment, you shall not murder. We understand that. Do we? Well, with most Americans holding the same sensible views, why would we stand in belief of capital punishment and allow the death penalty to be carried out in good faith for another human being, no matter the crime that they committed? The death penalty has been an inherent part of our society since the Middle Ages, regarded as a necessity to deter many crimes. But as we have evolved as a society, we are still not crime-free of such devastating acts. If the use of cruel and unusual punishment methods to the point of death throughout the ages cannot deter criminals, why should we put our souls at risk by murdering to prevent such crimes? Because that's not going to happen. As society has grown, so has our crime rate, despite the use of capital punishments. For crimes legally set as befitting for the punishment, how can we ensure that that's the case? We have such a fractured legal system, coupled with unethical treatment of other human beings and the moral ramifications. The death penalty should absolutely be abolished. As I just shared, there seems to be a complete failure in deterring criminals from committing acts of capital offense, proven by the number of criminals found within our prison systems at this time, and certainly sitting on death row. Statistical data has never been able to prove that the death penalty deters criminals from committing any crimes. Putting another human being to death for such a crime then only adds to the number of deaths that we see before their time, before God calls them home. After reinstatement of the death penalty in some northern states, the total number of murders in that state increased from the previous year's statistics. Today, there are 2,753 inmates sitting on death row in the United States. 18 death row inmates have been executed since the beginning of 2018. Another 10 are scheduled to die before the end of the year. For me, those are staggering rates. We witness situations of certain groups that fall through the crack due to their socioeconomic status or race, and the unfortunate instances of innocent human beings being put to death because, again, our failed and fractured justice system. Within the United States, 1 out of every 133 people in the country are or have been in prison for one reason or another. This is 5 times the rate of any other country in this world. Blacks are disproportionately represented on both death row and within our prison populations, period. We see that black males are more likely to be imprisoned within their lifetime than Hispanic and white males combined, which is a little scary for me. Most black male death row inmates are there in relation to a crime committed against a white person. Those within lower socioeconomic areas are more likely to commit crimes that land them on death row due to their lack of appropriate defense, as they are dependent on public defenders. These defenders have little means, stretched caseloads, and less experience defending such crimes than the more experienced DAs that they will be fighting against to prove a young man's innocence. Of the roughly 15,000 cases of murder committed, sentenced each year, only approximately 200 of those sentenced to death are sentenced to death. The vast majority of those criminals are ones whose cases are defended by such public defenders. Statistics have been able to show that in cases where DNA evidence have been available for further testing, the strides made within the criminal science community, a random sampling showed that 7 to 10% of death row inmates are innocent and should be released. 7 inmates sentenced to death row were later found to be faultless after DNA evidence proved them guiltless in their convicted crimes. Unfortunately, 4 of those had already been convicted. The immoral treatment of another human being by murdering for a crime generally done during a time of weakness or just strife in general goes against the sanctity of human life. The use of the death penalty takes the executioner himself to the level of that criminal in which he is executing. This devalues human life and the dignity that all human beings deserve. And if you see yourself as a murderer, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. Although many use the verse eye for an eye as the right to use the death penalty to punish those who have sinned against us or another, that is not what Jesus wishes us to understand from his teachings. We have to take into consideration Romans 12:17. Do not repay evil with evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. Also, we should look at Romans 12:19. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. I will repay. That doesn't say that we should repay. Furthermore, seek revenge on another for a crime he committed against you, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, only opens you up for that same attack from his family because they feel like they've been done wrong. This type of vengeance does not follow the Lord's law or the compassion that we should show for others. There obviously is evident complete failure in the utilization of the death penalty, as well as our justice system for that matter, proven in the lack of deterring these capital crimes, providing fair and adequate counsel during trials for those in certain socioeconomic statuses, and ensuring that there is no racial prejudice when their conviction is coming down, when that sentence is complete, as well as the moral condemnation of taking another human being's life in the eyes of the Lord. As our moral compasses guide us with the understanding of killing another, that it's morally wrong. It should not happen. Therefore, the immediate abolishment of the death penalty is completely fundamental to the survival of each of our souls. Thank you for listening.